Hey guys, it's Mark, back with another video talking about fantasy football. Thanks for those who are watching, and today what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about guys that you can buy low and that you can sell high for week 3. People that I'm personally going to look at trying to target for this week, and I'm going to talk a little bit about like some start sits leading into this weekend. So if you have any start sit comments that you want me to answer on game day, please comment in the video below, and I'll try to collect them up and then put it all on a show so that are in the morning on Sunday, so then that way right before game day you can kind of see a comparative start sit, kind of like the way I've been doing in the previous videos. So first of all, like I kind of just wanted to talk about like the purpose of my show, just because there seems to be some confusion about some of that. So basically, like I'm doing these videos like I'm not a professional fantasy football analyst or anything like that. I am just doing this because I really enjoy fantasy football. I think it's fun, and I wanted to kind of make some videos to kind of, as a peer who's doing a full-time job in something else, like kind of just make these videos as a way to kind of give you some, like friend, like peer advice about like what I would do as somebody who's just a casual fan, because that's kind of what I am. I'm just a casual fan. So that being said, like understand that like I have a full-time job. I'm trying to balance that in addition to doing these videos. But I honestly like really do want to try to help you with like your team and like help you with making your decisions. But just understand that like this is not my full-time job. This is something that I'm just doing as a hobby. So again, like I really want to help you out. I'm going to try to do my best to answer all your questions. Hopefully include you in the show too, so that way you can feel like, you're getting your questions answered thoroughly to try to help your fantasy football team. But again, like just understand that like I'm trying to do some other stuff too. So like just try to be patient with me if I don't get back to you right away. But yeah, so we're going to talk about buy low and sell high candidates. So these are guys that like I personally think that like you should target in trades. I talked about in previous videos like why you want to try to use these trades to your advantage, because that's going to help you win your league if you make good trades and make the right moves on certain players. Especially at this time of the year, where now that like 2 weeks have already gone by, people are starting to make very bold decisions about their players. Some people are like dropping Royce Freeman. I've seen just like really bad moves, and like just like really like try to take advantage of some of this while you can, because some people who don't really know a lot of these names, they're gonna make some bad decisions, and you could probably take advantage of it. All right, so guys that you want to try to buy low. So I'm gonna kind of go like positional base. I'm gonna do some running backs. I'm gonna do the buy lows and the sell highs, and then I'm gonna go to receivers, tight end, blah blah. So buy low running back. The number one running back, in my opinion, that you need to be trying to get on a buy low is Christian McCaffrey. Yes, you're going to have to give away a lot to get Christian McCaffrey, but like this guy's stock is pretty much as low as it could be this season. Had a bad game against the Buccaneers, which are not a very good team. Overall, he's not really like standing out like too much compared to some of these running backs. He's like right now in PPR leagues, he has 46 points, but most of it came after week 1, so a lot of people could be panicking after that second game. Cam Newton is looking pretty bad. So a lot of people like maybe they have hesitancy about Christian McCaffrey going forward. So and this is why you want to take advantage of it, because this guy is clearly the centerpiece of this offense. And as the second game showed you, like when they're not using him as the center of their playbook, then things really do not go well for them. So really like take advantage of this guy, because this is like one of the best running backs, one of the best players in general in fantasy football. You might be able to take advantage of it on an off week. My second running back that I really like is Devonta Freeman. And I've talked about this a lot. Like yes, Freeman has not looked good. He has not really stood out at all. His total points in PPR is somewhere around like 11, I think. I have to double check that exactly. But, so yeah, 10.5. So he's averaging like almost a little over 5 points a game, like something just terrible. And, a lot of people like coming off an injury, and then like the concerns about Ito Smith in the backfield and Quadri Olison there as well. Like, are they trying to like use a timeshare rather than just full Devonta Freeman mode like they used a few years ago. And the reason why you shouldn't be fooled by that is that in game one in week one when they did that, they were down like 28-0 in that game. So there really was not a huge purpose in one, either running the ball, or two, using Freeman in a huge workload off an injury. So that's why I think they mostly split up the backfield there. And then if you look at like the week 2 snap counts, like it's trending more in the direction of Devonta Freeman. Like Atlanta knows like he is their best running back. I think like right now they're just trying to like ease him into the system more than anything. And he will get his opportunity. I'm telling you, like, just be patient with him and try to take advantage of him if you can, because you might actually be able to get him for flex-worthy players right now, because people are not very happy with him and how he's played so far. So I'd take advantage of that if you can. I think that's an excellent buy low candidate. Another one that I really like, especially if you're in PPR leagues, is Tarik Cohen. And yes, this is a little more risky because David Montgomery is there. Mike Davis is there, even though he didn't really show up for week 2. But Tarik Cohen, like, he was just an amazing fantasy asset last year. And, like, it's hard for me to imagine a situation where he doesn't at least replicate some of those games this season. Yes, the Bears have to get their offense together, and Trubisky just has to stop looking like trash. But, like, this guy is just so explosive. Like, and they played, like, some tough defenses so far. Like, the Packers looked pretty good, and Denver looked pretty good as well. So, like, next week they play Washington, which is, like, not look like a good defense. So maybe, like, now is a good time to take advantage of Tarik Cohen. You can get some pretty good value for him, and you could end up getting a good flex-worthy, maybe RB2-worthy running back as the season goes on. All right, sell high running backs. So, and I talked about this to an extent already in the last week, but Austin Ekeler, like, number one among running backs so far, like, I do not see that replicating throughout the whole season. Like, you can honestly, like, at this point, like, probably sell Austin Ekeler straight up for Freeman. And I think I would do that trade 100% of the time. You do that, like, maybe you could even get David Johnson out of him or something, because David Johnson has not looked all that great. Maybe even James Conner. But James Conner I have hesitancy about because of the fact that he's, like, Big Ben is now out. And he's dealing with some injuries as well. But Austin Ekeler, like, you can get a lot of value for him right now. An excellent week 1. Week 2 is also very good, which is going to help his stock even more right now. Try to sell him while you can, because for the most part, like, he is a change of pace back. I don't see him being a workhorse back throughout the whole season. So right now, a guy that is a workhorse back, but I think that they're trying to move somebody else into that position eventually, is Chris Carson, and that's why he is a sell-high candidate for me. Chris Carson, huge workload in week 1. He had like 85% of the snaps, carries in that game, but actually, like, the direction trended more towards in the direction of Rashad Penny. And I mentioned this in the last video as well. Like, so Rashad Penny in that last game had 10 carries, 62 yards, and a touchdown, whereas Chris Carson had 15 carries, 60 yards, and 0 touchdowns. So just doing the simple math there, like, Chris Carson was averaging, like, about 4 yards a carry, whereas Rashad Penny was averaging 6 yards a carry and got a touchdown. And you notice how, like, the snaps or the carries are starting to even each other out somewhere in the middle. Like, I think Rashad Penny is gaining momentum on this team. He's going to be a better offensive weapon for that team as the season goes on. And then another guy would sell high, and, like, he is not playing right now, but, like, name value, you might be able to get some stuff for him now while you can, is Leonard Fournette. And Leonard Fournette, like, there's no doubt in my mind, like, he is a talented running back. He is, like, he's got a bright future ahead of him, I believe. But he's just on a bad team right now. And that offense, like, without Nick Foles, like, I just don't see them being fantasy relevant. Like, it's already, like, really shown in D.D. Westbrook's performance. But I think Leonard Fournette, like, these teams are realizing, like, we can stack the box against them, you know, like, make Gardner Minshew beat us, because that's exactly what they did last year with Bortles. So Leonard Fournette, like, try to sell that guy while you can, because a lot of people know his name from that 2017 season when he had an excellent rookie season. You might be able to convince somebody that is just looking at Leonard Fournette and already writing off like Freeman, like maybe they would want Fournette or something like that if you include some other kind of package deal there. So, yeah. Now I'm going to go to the wide receivers. So, buy low wide receivers. So, if you're going to... Okay, so, again, another Christian McCaffrey case with these next two. But, like, DeAndre Hopkins, like, did not have a good game. But, like, if you did not understand that he was facing Jalen Ramsey for the most part in that game, like... if you're, especially if your opponent who owns DeAndre Hopkins doesn't know that, like, you got to try to take advantage of this opportunity while you can, because he is not going to have many games where he scores in single digits. Like, offer something to try to convince them to give away Hopkins, because that's going to be like the best receiver in the league, in my opinion. And you got to take advantage of that while you can. I see more week 1 type performances than that week 2 performance, because that's it, just based on the like almost all of 2018, like he was scoring 20 points a game, like just an excellent asset for you, just so consistent. Like DeAndre Hopkins is just an amazing receiver. You got to take advantage of that. Another one you also have to take advantage of right now is Michael Thomas. And Michael Thomas, like, he did not have a good game last week. Well, I mean, he's been like all right. He's been like about mid-tier, nothing hasn't had a touchdown yet, so he hasn't really stood out. But I think people might be concerned about Drew Brees being gone, like how that's going to affect Michael Thomas, and they might be willing to sell him for Darth Helmet or something stupid. But Michael Thomas, like, this guy, like, is a reception machine. He's going to get his opportunities to score. I think either Teddy Bridgewater or maybe even Taysom Hill, they may eventually throw in a starting quarterback. Like, both of them know that Michael Thomas is that number 1 option. Like, he's going to get his looks, and he's going to have better games as the season goes on. So buy him while you can. Another receiver I like to buy is Robert Woods. Robert Woods is generally very consistent, but he had a bad week in week 2. And I think that was just more of an outlier, because you can generally depend on Robert Woods for a solid stat line of like 7 receptions, 70 yards for the most part, like 85%, like 80% of the games that they play this season. So I would buy Robert Woods while you can, because I think that, like, coming off that bad week, somebody might be willing be like a little iffy about them. So take advantage of that. Get Robert Woods on your team. A guy I would recommend that you sell high, and it's unfortunate because I really like this player going into the season, but Juju Smith-Schuster, like, I think that unfortunately just the Big Ben injury, like, that just limits that offense so much. I'm very concerned about how Juju's numbers are going to turn out now with Mason Rudolph there. I would try to sell Juju while you can, because I think that that's ultimately, like, he's just not going to return the same value that you drafted him for. Maybe see if you can pick up a guy that's got opportunity to stand out but hasn't really made the most advantage of it yet. Like, maybe like DJ Moore if Cam Newton gets his stuff together, something like that. I'd try to see if you can get like 2 receivers out of Juju, just because I really want to see like how things go for him. And it's too bad, but like, you have to be careful when you're trading down like that, especially with a guy that talented. So 2 guys I like that you can sell, or so 2 guys I like that you can sell high for the most part that you're picking up on waivers: Terry McLaurin and DeMarcus Robinson. And I talked about these guys in the last video, but like Terry McLaurin, like, I like as a potential long-term ad, but if you're gonna try to sell him, like, you got to do it this week because he's playing the Bears. There's a lot of potential after that game that he could have a drop in his stat line, and his stock is going to go down, because once a guy like that who's in his rookie season, like, once you see a bad game like that takes him from a guy that, like, in some people's eyes, like, could be the next, like, you know, Michael Thomas, who really had an excellent rookie season, just stood out the whole season. Or they might see him as a guy that, like, is just a one-hit wonder, just took advantage of bad matchups, but he's on an ultimately a bad team like the Redskins that's not going to take advantage of his talent. So you got to make a decision what you're going to do with Terry McLaurin this week, in my opinion. If you're going to hold him the whole season or hope that he can replicate those values or try to trade him for another guy. DeMarcus Robinson, just try to sell him now because, like, I'm just telling, and as I talked about in the last video, like, those numbers are not going to replicate itself. He had, like, he had, like, 173 yards in that game, I believe. Something like that. And it's honestly, like, 172. And then, but then you factor in, like, in week 1, he had 0 yards. So, like, is this, I just see this more as like a flash in the pan. Like, try to sell him now while you can, because I just I don't see that happening again the whole season, to be honest. But then again, you never really know with that offense. And then another guy that I recommend you sell because like he is another guy who's like proven inconsistency is John Ross. So yes, John Ross has looked great so far, and it was very encouraging to me to see him have another game where he gets 100-something yards and a touchdown. But, like, a guy that, like, his whole rookie season posted a negative stat line. Like, literally, you could put Rick Ross in your starting lineup and you would have had more points that season than John Ross. Like, I don't even know. And then, like, last year he was also, like, pretty much a bust. So, I would, like, try to take advantage of him too, because I think there's a likelihood that he could have some bust games coming soon. So a guy I would try to sell while you can. And notice, like, in my buy lows and sell highs, like the buy lows are generally guys that you draft very high because they've not had good starts. People might be hinging away from like, why did I draft like how could I draft Devonta Freeman if he puts up like 3 points or something? Like, I'm done with him. And they might, like, depending on the person, they might actually be willing to drop him, which, like, hope they're not actually thinking that. But, like, they might be willing to trade them, especially if you put in, like, one of these guys that started off very well, like DeMarcus Robinson or, like, Austin Ekeler or something like that. Like, that could really give you a lot of value to grab somebody that is going to have better long-term value throughout the season. So another example here, like tight ends. So a buy low tight end that I really like is Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz, he's had a tough, he's been okay so far. He's like been like mid-tier of the tight ends, nothing great. But that team in particular, like they used him a lot more in week 2, getting involved more. And then now, like, you factor in like Deshaun Jackson is injured, and especially like a soft tissue injury like he has, like. That kind of stuff for somebody that's that fast is concerning, especially Deshaun Jackson's getting a little older. Like, so I'm concerned like how quickly he's going to get back to himself. Alshon Jeffrey's also banged up, so I think Zach Ertz is going to get an uptick in his looks just based on the injuries going on in that team, and just basically their absolute inability to run the ball this year. So Zach Ertz is going to definitely improve as the season goes on. Take advantage of that buy low opportunity while you can. And then a sell high guy. So Vance McDonald, sorry, but like he had 2 touchdowns with Mason Rudolph in that game, but I just don't see that consistency long term. He's a guy that's like known for those type of games where like he'll go off with like tons of points, people will buy into his hype, and then they'll start in the next week and he'll score like 0 points. So it's a tough situation, but like, and yeah, like, maybe he's got that rapport with Mason Rudolph. He'll stand out as a tight end you can grab and really give you a lot of value on your team. But I just personally would stay away from him. Maybe try to trade him away because just don't see that like lasting the whole season. That offense is going to probably have some bad games, I bet. And then buy low and sell high quarterbacks. And I complain about this guy all the time, as you all know. Like, it's shameful that I actually have to bring him up in a good conversation. Never mind. I don't hate Aaron Rodgers, but I just feel like I ran about him so much. But he is a perfect buy low candidate right now. And I said not to draft him because, like, he's not like a standout quarterback anymore like the Mahomes and the Watsons and maybe even Lamar Jackson is in that category now. He's not like on that tier, but like people are hesitant about Aaron Rodgers because of the fact that last year he wasn't as great. He's not started out great this year, but you got to give him a fair shake that he's played like two great defenses. He's played Chicago and then he's played Minnesota. Next week he's playing Denver, which like a lot of people seem to think is a good defense, but like the stats show that they're really not. So like good opportunity to buy low on him. Maybe you could get you could trade him in some package that includes like Kyler Murray or something, which I would rather have Aaron Rodgers than Kyler Murray. So good opportunity here. I think he will eventually have a lot better games as the season goes on, because once he puts up a great game again, the type of hype that this guy has, people are gonna want to hold on to him or even trade away Saquon for him or some nonsense. I hope nobody actually is thinking of doing that, but I mean, you never know with some of these people playing fantasy football. I'm just saying. And then a sell high quarterback like Dak Prescott has looked great so far this season, and nobody ever, I think, at his level of averageness gets as much hype as he does. But that's also because he plays in Dallas. But has had a great start to the season so far. But you look at the defenses he's playing. He's playing the Giants. He's playing Washington, which both looked like bad defenses so far. Kind of a little concerned about the stat line there of how that's going to look the rest of the season. But I maybe would not sell him right now because he's playing Miami. But then again, a team like Miami, yes, they could go up, they could blow them out, but this could be a Zeke game. It could be a Tony Pollard game, something like that, because I just have in my opinion, I just see this being a very muddled matchup of you don't know who's going to stand out among the Cowboys because they're probably going to blow them out, kind of what happened with New England last week. So personally, I would try to sell Dak Prescott. He's got a lot of value right now, but I don't see it lasting long term. So we'll do a few start sits for a few minutes, and then comment below what you want to see as start sits comparisons, and I will put that into the video that I'll post Sunday morning. So comment below what your start and sit decisions and questions are, and I'll try to answer it in the question comment, and then I'll try to post in the video. So stay tuned. But some questions. We had a question from a guy named Darren and Milk, and he was wondering. He's trying to debate who to put into his RB2 and flex. He's got Carlos Hyde, Frank Gore, and Tarik Cohen. So first of all, I'm not sure what your league format is, so because that kind of changes how I would rank Cohen. But in general, the way I would rank those running backs for this week, I would actually go Carlos Hyde because I think the Houston offense is in a better state right now than the Bills offense. So I would not put Frank Gore ahead of Carlos Hyde because I think Carlos Hyde is ultimately going to get more opportunity to score a touchdown against Pittsburgh, which is frankly looking very in shambles right now. I think that Carlos Hyde would have a better game against Pittsburgh personally, so I would feel more comfortable starting him first. And then if you're in PPR, I would rank Cohen second, because I think that against Redskins, I think he's going to have some opportunity to catch some passes in the flat. But again, you gotta understand that he is very inconsistent, and there might be an opportunity, and especially Trubisky is inconsistent. So just keep that in mind. And then, so if you're in PPR, I'd put Cohen second. But if you're in standard, I'd put Frank Gore. The reason I would put Frank Gore next is because I think Frank Gore could have a good game, and I think he's going to get a lot of carries, but I see a potential for a game where he has 20 carries for 40 yards or something like that. Because he's an older running back. He's really at this point just a first and second down guy. I think that TJ Yeldon might stand out a little more and kind of fill Singletary's role if he can't play. But Frank Gore, I think, has an opportunity to get a touchdown because he's playing the Bengals. So I do like the start if you're in a pinch, which is why I would recommend it standard. But I think in PPR, I'd feel a little more comfortable playing Cohen because he has a good matchup too. But overall, I think all three are not bad plays. So go Hyde, Gore next if you're in standard, and then Cohen next if you're in PPR. And then another guy, I believe his name is Sheung. I hope I pronounced that right. But he was wondering, like, so he picked up some players, and he kind of did what I was telling you, where you save the kicker until the end, because kickers are replaceable. You can generally pick them up at different times. You're like pretty much kickers, because it's a crapshoot anyway. You're trying to like guess who to put in the position, and save your bench players. Try to use a trade. If you can't get a trade, drop one of them. So he's wondering who to drop among Tony Pollard, DJ Chark, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, McCole Hardman, Justice Hill, Tarik Cohen, and Jalen Richard. But he owns Josh Jacobs, which is a smart handcuff play. I really like that. So personally, like, I would usually tell you to drop Jalen Richard, but since you own Jacobs, I think that's smart to keep him. You do not drop Tarik Cohen. He's too explosive. I would not drop Chark personally, because he is getting a lot of targets from Gardner Minshew. I think that is a sleeper flex play depending on the matchup. Could actually be very beneficial for you at times. Tony Pollard is a handcuff that's very valuable. You have to hold on to him, in my opinion. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, I think that is probably who I would feel most comfortable dropping. And generally, you don't want to drop running backs because it's harder to replace them on a team. So I would hold Justice Hill for that reason. And I like McCole Hardman's possibility of exploding more on the Chiefs and ultimately giving you these inflated DeMarcus Robinson stat lines in which you could trade him for an ultimately better, more consistent receiver, which I don't see Marquez Valdez-Scantling being, because frankly, he's not shown that at all from last year even. So, yeah, and then I'm going to go through a roster real quick. This is my... so I made two teams. I've been tracking them and kind of talking about what I would do with them on the show. So this team, I picked up Nelson Aguilar off waivers. I have him right now and on my bench. So who am I going to start and sit him on this team? So my quarterback is Lamar Jackson. I only own one quarterback, so I'm going to start him. My running backs, I've got James Conner, Aaron Jones, Rashad Penny, Devin Singletary, Malcolm Brown, and that's it. So I would not... Singletary, if he could play, I think that would be a great matchup against Cincinnati. I'm actually like... Aaron Jones I would start even against Denver. James Conner I might really consider sitting over Devin Singletary, because I think Singletary, if he ends up being healthy, could have a good game. Conner is also banged up, though. I don't think I would feel comfortable putting Rashad Penny in over Conner, though. So if Singletary looks healthy, I would go him. And my video is about to run out, but thanks for watching.